What's good? It's Russell King here, and today we're going to be discussing today's episode, Monday Night Raw, the go home show of Monday Night Raw. This episode of Monday Night Raw was really good episode. A good way to do a good go home show before WrestleMania. Man, I really enjoyed this episode of Monday Night Raw. But let's go ahead and get straight to it. We start off with The Rock making his incredible entrance. I'm really loving his new entrance. His new entrance is so amazing with his new heel turn. Really loved it. But he gets to the ring. We'll start off with a Rock promo. And he starts talking about the beatdown. The beatdown that happened last week. You know, the beatdown that he made Cody bleed. And he starts mentioning how last week when he came out to the ring, he said he was going to make Cody Rhodes bleed. And that's what he did. And he made him bleed. He rubbed his blood all over the belt that he ended up using on Cody Rhodes. And the thing is, and it's actually funny because I wonder why they didn't show it. But after they stopped filming, they showed a clip of what The Rock ended up doing to Cody afterwards. And he starts whipping him with the belt. And you know, The Rock is mentioning the beatdown, and he ended up saying how everything went according to plan, how much he enjoyed it. But he ended up saying the only thing that was missing from that beatdown was Mama Rhodes' tears. I love that he said that because he did say he is going to hand her that belt, and it's going to have her tears on it. And I really love what The Rock has been doing. The Rock has been doing some amazing work since this heel turn. I'm really loving it. Skip forward. The Rock started talking about Cody Rhodes and the Cody crybabies, and talk about how Cody Rhodes fans are basically, complaining and all that. Then he talk about how the Cody fans was crying crying that he got basically essentially beat up last week. Then he starts showing footage of children crying because of Cody Rhodes getting beat up. That, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little messed up, but I was laughing when he started showing the children cry. I don't know what made me start laughing, but I just find that hilarious. But also, that's just very good heel work. I really love that he's showing kids crying because of Cody Rhodes getting beat up. I really love that. That was amazing. I really love that he did that. That was amazing. And this crowd was electric. This crowd was very hyped for The Rock, but of course it's The Rock. They're always going to be hyped for him. But The Rock is not saying too much afterwards. Then I forgot what The Rock exactly said, but he was alluding to something. And then The Rock ended up saying that he was not alone. The crowd got hyped. The bloodline music hit. Roman Reigns music hit. Roman comes out. Roman's cutting a promo. He starts off, he's talking about family, basically talking about family comes first. I would do anything for my family, that type of thing. In the middle of his promo, fans are chanting yeet. Then Roman says no yeet, and then Roman ends up saying that if you continue to say that, he's demanding to leave. And they of course kept saying yeet, yeet, yeet. I really love that. Roman going on with his promo, and Roman end up thanking The Rock. He ends up thanking The Rock for the beatdown, thanking The Rock, and he ends up thanking The Rock not only for the beatdown, but he also thanks The Rock for saying that this is going to be the easiest WrestleMania of his career, and this is going to be the easiest win of his career. Then, later on in the promo, he mentions about Cody Rhodes, and he ends up mentioning that Roman, back in 2020 when the Bloodline story first started, he made wrestling cool, alluding to what The Rock was saying in the promo before Roman came out, because Rock ended up saying that he made wrestling cool. Roman basically saying that his story made wrestling cool, and he said Cody Rhodes hopped on the bandwagon. Because he ended up mentioning how when Roman was doing his thing back in 2020, with the bloodline first starting off, Cody was off. He didn't allude to AEW, but that's basically what he's saying. He's basically saying Cody Rhodes is basically in AEW, basically doing nothing. And he ends up Then Roman, as he keeps talking, he starts talking about how the problem began when, because he said, because at first Roman was like, it was cool when you first got here and all that, but he said the problem began when you tried to take his throne. The problem began when you wanted to take his power. Then Roman really started to get very serious, bro. He started really getting serious. He talking about how he runs this. This is we basically run the show. We run this. That's his title, and they're going to continue to keep running WWE. Seth Rollins' theme music hits. He comes out, and he comes out in the crowd, very similar to, they alluded to on the show, I think it was Pat McAfee, maybe it was Michael Cole, alluded to that Roman Reigns is very familiar with that entrance, alluding to their time in the Shield. He comes out through the crowd. He didn't come all the way out, but he was basically still in the crowd. Come through the crowd. Seth Rollins immediately, he ended up saying that if you think I'm dumb enough to fall for an ambush, you must be stupid. You must be stupider than I thought. Because, of course, Seth Rollins is not going to go out to the ring when the whole bloodline is there. That should be dumb. But Seth Rollins says that what they did last week with Cody Rhodes was too far and that he's tired of talking. And he wants a fight. And he wants a fight with The Rock. And then he said if he can't get it with The Rock, he would love to do it with the tribal chief Roman Reigns. Now, Seth Rollins was trying to instigate a bit, basically he ends up saying that if you guys have a set of balls in order to face him, of course, we knew that they're not going to fight. It just doesn't make sense. The crowd was hyped when he did say Roman Reigns and The Rock for a match, but we knew that wasn't going to happen. It just doesn't make sense when you have a match coming up this Saturday. It wasn't going to happen. But The Rock ended up responding to Seth Rollins, ends up saying that basically they're not going to fight him and that he needs to just shut up and enjoy the ride. Because, yeah, they're just not going to fight him. Like, we all know they're not going to fight. After The Rock declines the match, of course, you start getting a bunch of Rocky suck chants. Solo ends up randomly getting on the mic, which shocked me, to be honest with you, because Solo never talks, and the only time he ever talks is really, it's not much, to be honest with you. So I was shocked when Solo talked and grabbed the microphone. Solo gets on the microphone and says that you're not going to be fighting the final boss, The Rock. You're not going to be fighting Roman Reigns. You're going to be fighting me. Seth Rollins accepts the challenge, but then The Rock interferes and ends up saying that the match will be bloodline rules. Next up, so that's very interesting. We're going to get to that later, of course, with the bloodline rules match. But next up, we got the MMA hour. Rhea Ripley was on some type of show. I think it's called the MMA hour. She was talking about, Becky Lynch, and she was saying that if Becky Lynch brings the energy she brought last Monday, then she's very excited. The host or whatever ends up getting a call from Becky Lynch, or he called her. I don't know which one it was. Becky Lynch ends up talking, ends up saying that she's outside the building. Becky Lynch comes out, and then she starts talking trash to Rhea Ripley, talking about how you talked about my daughter. That's not okay. Going back and forth. She ends up shoving Rhea Ripley, and then security has to come out and break them up before it gets into a brawl. Next up, we got DIY and the New Day versus the Judgment Day, a 4-man tag team. This match was pretty solid. Not really sure why this was on the card, to be honest with you. And shockingly, it was very weird because this match was short for whatever reason. I feel like it was supposed to go longer. Maybe it was shortened because of The Rock and the Bloodline segment, because that segment was long. But every other match felt like it got the proper time besides this one, because the Judgment Day beat them fairly clean, which is shockingly. And Damian Priest just dominated. Like, towards the last 3 minutes, it was just Damian Priest dominating Tommaso Ciampa, which is very shocking. But yeah, Judgment Day picked up the win, and there's not really much to this match, which is very shocking that they had Judgment Day beat them that clean the fact that DIY and the New Day are both in the ladder match. So it's very shocking. But next up, we got Roman Reigns and The Rock. Roman Reigns and The Rock basically are backstage talking about basically how Solo is ready. He's prepared to beat Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns like everything is covered. I'm about to go. The Rock was like, all right, be safe or whatever. Then Paul Heyman comes out and they have announced that Roman Reigns will be inducting Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame. I love this. I don't think now there are other candidates you probably could have went. You could have went CM Punk. You could have went Brock Lesnar possibly, but Brock Lesnar, of course, is going through his allegations, so he was off the table. It wasn't really many candidates outside of Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns is a good candidate. I think, me personally, I think when I think of a Paul Heyman guy, Roman Reigns is like the first person I think of. I think Roman Reigns is I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect storyline wise because they're still with each other. So I think it only makes sense for Roman to induct them into the Hall of Fame. I really love that. I'm very excited for that speech, and I'm really excited to see how that goes down. Next up, we got Sami Zayn and Chad Gable with their promo package. We got Sami and Gable. Gable is training Sami Zayn to basically training him up to face Gunther. Doing a bunch of workouts, training. He's having a training partner. He's doing some sparring in the ring. We get to him, sparring with some guy in the ring. And then Sami is basically exhausted. He's on the ground on his knees. And then Chad Gable randomly comes up from behind him and starts choking him. And then he continues to choke him. And then Sami finally taps out. And then Sami, after he, recovers from getting choked out, he ends up pushing Gable. He's like, what are you doing? What was that? You know what I'm saying? What are you know what I'm saying? Like taking it a little too far. And Gable was basically like, I'm just trying to prepare you. And Sami felt like he was doing a little too much. He was like, bro, what are you doing? I'm exhausted. Chad Gable responded to him. He's like, do you really care if Gunther thinks you're exhausted? He's like, you know what? We're running it back. Sami didn't want to run it back. He's like, Sami is basically confronting Gable. Was like, why are you pushing me so hard? Like, I don't need this. I don't need you basically destroying me before I get to Mania. Gable responds to Sami. He noticed that there's something wrong with Sami. He's like, why are you... Basically, he's wondering why Sami is fighting him off. He's like, why is Sami acting the way he is? Sami is ignoring it. He's not really trying to admit what the real issue is. They're going back and forth. And Sami finally caved in and said he is afraid. And I really love this because one of the main criticisms that people had, and one of the reasons why people wanted Chad Gable in the match originally, was mainly because Chad Gable had a better story. I'm going to be honest, this story that they're doing with Sami, it's making me a little bit more interested, and it's making me kind of believe he has a chance. Not really sure yet, but basically he started alluding to how he doesn't want to fail people. He's afraid of not only losing to Gunther, but he's afraid of failing himself, but failing the fans, failing his daughter, failing his wife. He mentioned how his wife was in tears when he lost. He don't want to see his wife cry because he lose again. He mentions how he doesn't want to see his daughter cry because he lost again. He starts alluding to that. Then Gable understands. Gable says that if anyone understands that it is me, they start talking it through. Okay? And one thing Sami ended up responding, he said that because Sami was on board with Gable, but Sami ended up saying that you told me that you don't think I could beat Gunther. Chad Gable ended up responding. He said, I didn't tell you what you wanted to hear. I told you what you needed to hear, which is something I really like, because that is a real life thing. Sometimes you got to get something that you need to hear instead of what you want to hear, because what you need to hear doesn't always sound good. But, eventually, they get back on good terms, of course. And one thing he is mentioning, I think it was something specific that Chad Gable said about him being the underdog, and when people are doubting him, he's at his best, but he can't. I think he said he can't be that in this match. It was something along those lines. I can't fully remember, but I do know after this, but after those words were said, they showed the promo. Him start working out super aggressively. He's hitting his workout. He's doing the workouts very well. All of a sudden, he got all this motivation. That, and then I had Bessie the segment. But I really love that promo segment. I think it needed that segment actually to actually give us a chance to really see, can Sami actually dethrone Gunther. Next up, we have Sami Zayn versus Bronson Reed. Um, this match, this was a solid match. This was a solid match. Them, Sami Zayn and Bronson Reed are going back and forth. Sami Zayn gets the upper hand after Bronson Reed tries to do his finisher, the tsunami. Sami Zayn moves out the way. He's about to finish Bronson Reed off with a haluva kick. Gunther comes out with Chad Gable, and Chad Gable was unconscious, and he's just dragging him. He's dragging legs, just dragging him, and then he just starts taunting. Sami Zayn notices. Sami Zayn walks out to the ring and tries to fight Gunther. Of course, he gets beats up, he gets demolished. Gunther is giving him multiple chops to the chest, like mean chops. Gunther chops are, man, I love Gunther chops, man, because I know those hurt. Gunther's constantly beating him up. Sami Zayn ran after he gets beats up, because he gets beats up twice. But he gets beats up twice. After the first time, right? Sami Zayn randomly starts kicking his feet up, like stomping the ground as he's on the ground, like kind of like, he's doing that, like that, what wrestlers do when they try to get momentum after getting beat up for so long. But he's like stomping the ground, and he did like, I don't know how many stomps, but it felt like he stomped the ground like 30 times. The crowd's getting excited, think he's gonna make a comeback. Gunther just runs up with his belt, hits him with the belt, knocks him completely back down, and then Gunther basically hails high, holds the championship over Sami Zayn's head with his foot on his chest, and that's the end of the segment. Now, I don't know if they're now. Of course, they're doing the whole underdog. The underdog overcomes the odds. Part of me, this segment is kind of giving me the vibe that Sami might win with the way they have Gunther just demolish him. But because Gunther typically don't do that with opponents. Like, he typically don't just randomly attack someone and then, and then attack the guy he's going. He typically doesn't do that. I don't know. Like, I guess he technically has attacked people before, but he typically don't go to this extent. So I don't know. It may be a chance Sami may actually do it, but I'm still unsure. But moving on to the next segment, we got Ivy Now, Maxine Dupree versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. This was okay match. This is just building up on the Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell storyline. In the middle of the match, towards the end of the match, Candice LeRae knocks off Ivy Nile on the top rope. Candice LeRae knocks off Ivy Nile off the top rope. Candice LeRae is trying to get Indy Hartwell. I'm getting their names mixed up. Trying to get Indy Hartwell's attention. Trying to get her to, basically take advantage of the opportunity I gave you. She doesn't. She ends up getting bumped. I think Ivy Nile ends up making a tag, and then Maxine Dupree ends up bumping her, or ends up doing she ends up bumping her or something, and then she ends up doing a roll-up pin and ends up securing the victory for Ivy Now, and of course herself, Maxine Dupree. And then after the match, Indy Hartwell is of course disappointed, and then Candice LeRae is just going off on Indy Hartwell. She is just disappointed, mad. And one of the things that actually made me laugh was that you lost to Maxine Dupree. That's funny because it is kind of embarrassing. No offense to Maxine Dupree, but no woman on the roster should be losing to her. And that was funny, but she said you lost to Maxine Dupree. Next up, we have Drew McIntyre. I love this vignette they did for Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is in a funeral, and he has a casket. And they're playing, in the background, they're playing Seth Rollins, a couple of his promos, but they're also playing CM Punk. They're playing CM Punk in the promo about him main eventing WrestleMania. And of course, he's at a funeral with a casket, of course. Like that is hilarious. But he starts talking about CM Punk, and he starts talking about ends up the first thing Drew said in the vignette. He ends up saying that people was eager to see a old up, washed up man in the main for in WrestleMania. It ends up saying that his brittle and frail body gave up on him worse than it did in the UFC. That was a cold line. I like that. That was a very cold line. I am really loving this heel Drew McIntyre. Then the next thing he ends up saying about CM Punk is that his triceps wanted to get as far away from him as possible, just like the rest of us. Which means excluding the WWE roster wants to get far away from him. Drew McIntyre is a menace towards. He do not get off CM Punk, bro. Any chance he has to mention CM Punk, he's going to mention him. Whether it's on TV, on Twitter, he's always talking about CM Punk. Next thing he ends up talking about Seth Rollins. He ends up calling Seth Rollins the Joker, which, yeah, he does get a lot of Joker comparison. Ends up saying that he basically copied the Joker and basically made his whole personality the Joker. And then he's talking about how he feels disrespected, that he thinks that he can handle The Rock, the Bloodline, and beat him at Mania, which is true. Like, the fact that he thinks he could do all that and still beat you, that is disrespectful. But talk about how he's going to put an end to his reign at Mania. This was a really good vignette. Very good vignette. Really love it. You know, building up Drew's heel character, heel persona. I'm really loving it. Hopefully, he takes the title off Seth Rollins. I love Seth Rollins, but hopefully, Drew McIntyre takes the title off Seth Rollins. All right. Next up, we got Ricochet versus Ivar. Not going to speak too much on this. This match was to see who goes to the Andre Battle Royal for SmackDown. Don't really understand why they need a qualifying match. Don't really make sense because no one on SmackDown needs a qualifying match. It's just random people in the match. I don't understand. You could have just put Ricochet in it and no one would have asked. This was a good match, don't get me wrong, but don't understand why it needs to be a qualifying match. But this was a really good match. Great match, actually. Ricochet did something very impressive in this match. Ivar ran up towards Ricochet, jumped in Ricochet arms. Ricochet caught Ivar and actually holding Ivar. Ivar is a big dude. Holding Ivar and then slams Ivar backwards and then proceeds to do a 640 on him for the victory. That was very impressive. Because Ivar is a big dude. It takes a lot of strength to just not only carry him, but then ends up doing a backward slam. That was very impressive. But that was a very good match. But next up, we got the Judgment Day. They're having a backstage segment. They're basically talking about what they're going to do with Ricochet. They're tired of Ricochet winning, which I don't understand because I don't even understand how this is even a feud, really, because I don't understand where this feud came from. This feud just feels forced and it feels random because Ricochet didn't really do anything and it just feels random. It feels forced. But JD Madonna says that he's going to be in the Battle Royal on SmackDown, I guess. Don't understand the feud. I really don't. But after that, Andrade ends up entering and they want Andrade to take care of their Ricochet problem. Now, I'm very curious to see how they use Andrade and if Andrade actually be on the Judgment Day. Because I have a theory about why they're pushing this Andrade in Judgment Day. Personally, I think they're using this for Charlotte Flair to eventually return. Because if they end up doing a draft, Charlotte Flair is married to Andrade. Andrade being in the Judgment Day, you could easily insert her in that mix because that is her husband. And she don't want her husband dealing with Rhea Ripley, the woman she lost her title to. That's my theory on it, but I could be wrong. But very interested to see how they're going to push this. He's supposed to be the guy that's supposed to take out Ricochet, apparently. And we'll see what moves on. Let's see how that works out. Next up, we got Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch comes out to the ring. She gets straight to the chase. She's like, look, we done enough talking. I want to fight. Come out here. She calls out Rhea Ripley and she wants her to fight. Adam Pearce comes out. He's basically denying it. He's like, no, you have a match. You're going to have that match at Mania. He's not going to risk either of them fighting each other. Rhea Ripley then comes out. Well, before that, Adam Pearce has a bunch of security guards. He ends up calling a bunch of security guards. He calls like about 8 security guards. Then Rhea Ripley comes out. Adam Pearce is trying to convince, calm Rhea Ripley down, trying to convince her not to do it. Rhea Ripley, arguing back and forth. Then Rhea Ripley pretends like she's about to go backstage. She throws the belt at Adam Pearce and then just basically destroy all the men in front of her. And then gets to the ring, and then Becky and Rhea have a brawl. Becky and Rhea have a brawl. The security guards are trying to break it up, but they can't. Then the security guards end up getting Rhea Ripley out of the ring. They're trying to contain her, but they barely can. Becky Lynch ends up going to the top rope, ends up jumping off the top rope, landing on the security guards and Rhea Ripley, and then they continue to brawl from there. They end up brawling all the way to backstage. This segment was cool, but the only thing I hate about it is I hate this when they do this with men too. They have to stop having so many security guards. I don't understand why did they do this where they have 20 security guards and they can't maintain one wrestler. Like, I get it with Rhea Ripley to a degree, even though it's still stupid. But Rhea Ripley is a muscular woman, so okay, fine. You can have 5 dudes try to control her. But Becky Lynch, really? You're telling me that 5 dudes can't control Becky Lynch? Like, come on. Like, it's the same thing with dudes. I hate when they do the security guards trying to hold back, because it just makes the security guards look weak. And I get it. You're trying to make your wrestler look strong, but I don't know if it makes them look strong per se, because we all know that the security guards are stupid and retarded anyway. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but the segment wasn't bad, but I don't know. But I do like that they are building up this feud a little bit more, and they are improving on this feud. Next up, we got Zoe Starks, Shayna Baszler, Tegan Knox versus Damage Control with Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane, and Asuka. Not really much to say about this. Damage Control win, and yeah, there's really not much to say about this. This match was okay, and I'm being generous with that. It was okay. It's not really much to say for her, but Damage Control wins. Not much to say about that, man. Next up, we got the Seth Rollins, and well, actually before that, we got Kathy Kelly, I think her name is, the reporter. She ends up calling up she ends up doing an interview with a quick run up with Seth Rollins. Ends up asking, why did you call out The Rock? Why did you do this? I forgot exactly what Seth Rollins said. He said something about this is his last year. It was something Seth Rollins said. But the main key point Seth Rollins says is that he ends up saying that he has a plan, and he says he always has a plan B, which allude to what ends up happening. Now we get to the main event. Seth Rollins versus Solo Sikoa in the Bloodline Rules match. Okay? Now, they're having a decent match. They're going back and forth, right? Seth Rollins ends up doing a powerbomb onto a table to Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is rolling around. Now he's he's setting himself up for the curb stomp. Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp on Solo Sikoa. It looks like Seth Rollins about to get the victory. Jimmy Uso comes out and immediately super kicks Seth Rollins. Immediately after he super kicks Seth Rollins, Jey Uso comes out. His theme music hits. Everyone's hyped. And then him and Jimmy starts brawling. They go all the way to, where the wrestlers do their entrance. Then they cut after Jay and Jimmy disappear. Not like it literally been like 3 seconds. All you see is Jey Uso get tossed. You just see him flying. And then you see The Rock. The Rock comes out. The Rock laid the beats on Jay and then tosses him back where you can't see him anymore. The Rock comes out towards the ring. Seth Rollins is laying on the ground. The Rock is talking his trash. It looks like The Rock has the upper hand. Seth Rollins looks worried. And then Seth Rollins has the biggest smile on his face. And then Cody Rhodes music hits. Cody Rhodes comes out. That was the plan B that I'm assuming Seth Rollins was alluding to. Cody Rhodes comes out. He's giving The Rock the beats. He's giving him multiple punches. Got him in the corner. Starts giving him multiple kicks. Takes him outside. Continues to beat him up. They got him towards afterwards. Cody and Seth Rollins trying to put him through the announce table. Seth Rollins getting in on the action. They start double teaming him, putting him on the announce table. Cody Rhodes gets on top of the announce table, starts lifting The Rock up. And the Cody Rhodes alludes to doing a rock bottom. He starts getting himself in position and starts doing the position of the rock bottom. The crowd's getting hyped. They're getting excited. Then out of nowhere, Roman Reigns attacks Cody Rhodes and gets the upper hand. Then Bloodline gets the upper hand on Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. Roman Reigns starts attacking Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns starts attacking each other. Roman gets the upper hand. Then The Rock, recovers. He starts attacking Cody. Then them two going back and forth, they're attacking. The Bloodline gets the upper hand. Roman and The Rock get the upper hand. Roman Reigns gets in the ring, and then The Rock has Seth Rollins. He looks at Roman, and I'm assuming I think Roman or The Rock. I don't know which one suggested it, but basically they toss him in the ring. Roman gets him in position for the Superman punch. Roman hits Seth Rollins with the Superman punch. Then he tosses Cody Rhodes in her. Then Roman does his signature I don't even know what you call it, catchphrase, I guess. Before he does the spear on Cody Rhodes. Now, Roman, The Rock, they're both celebrating, they're both, ecstatic, they're celebrating the beatdown they were giving. Then The Rock and Roman, they're talking to each other. Then The Rock pulls out a belt. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it said Nightmare on it, alluding to American Nightmare to Cody Rhodes, because it was a blue belt. He pulls out a belt, and then he starts beating Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes with it. And then Roman takes the belt and starts beating Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes with it. Man, that is just crazy. Back-to-back weeks, Cody Rhodes gets whooped. Back-to-back weeks. My pronunciation. Back-to-back weeks, Cody Rhodes gets whooped. Him and Roman are just going crazy with the belt. They're just constantly they're whooping him. They're whooping them like your mom would your mom would, bro. Like, they're just going crazy, man. Then we get to, they're continuing to whoop him. Then we get Cody Rhodes randomly. It was, The Rock. It was The Rock. It was Roman or The Rock told Solo to grab Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is like on the ropes, like in the middle of the ropes. Solo's on the outside. He holds both Cody's arms, and then The Rock, it's, basically gearing up to whoop Cody some more, and he hits him with a hard whip, like very hard, like very hard. Like, those hits, I know they hurt, man. Constant hits with that belt over and over and over again. Then the segment closed off with The Rock holding the belt that he whooped Cody and Seth, right? And then Roman holds his undisputed WWE Universal Championship, and that closed out Monday Night Raw. But this Raw was very exciting, very good. I'm very excited for WrestleMania, man. And this was a very good go-home show. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's it.